Welcome to the Arkansas PBS June 6, 2024 Commission meeting. We're glad to have everybody here that's here and the people on the television watch us through the network also. I'd like to start out. Dwayne Wilbur has told me, now there's probably a reason he's telling me this since we don't have Skip Holland here anymore, to not try to speak over the people that are on Zoom or Skype because it doesn't work. It messes up the whole system. So, and Ed, I'll try not to interrupt you, the usual course of business. Today, I would like to, I'm very pleased to announce that we have two new commissioners. Y'all don't know, we've been looking and waiting for y'all for a long time. It took us a little while to shake Skip Holland, but we finally got him. But, I have not studied their background. I just met them, so I don't know. Usually I'd love to tell stories about you and stuff, but I don't know anything yet, but just give me time. And so this is Marie Sullivan. I would like to start out by introducing her first. And did she just interrupt me?
I believe she corrected.
Giving you a little assist.
Okay. Maria Sullivan. And Marie, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
I'm from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and grew up in Monette. Graduated Arkansas State in 1972. Great year. I am married to Dan Sullivan, have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. And I guess one of the things I can say is that the last 2 books that I have read or listened to on Audible is Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas and William F. Buckley's The Reagans I Knew. So you can just draw from that something about me. I am so thankful to be here, and I am grateful to Governor Sanders for the appointment. Thanks,
That's
Russ.
good. Well, driving down here, I was talking to a friend of mine who just finished that Bonhoeffer book, and he was telling me how I had to read it.
You do.
So in that industry, such a coincidence. So, and if you're anything like him, that tells me a lot about you. So, and that's Gary. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have not read the Bonhoeffer book, but I grew up in Mountain Home, north central Arkansas. Native Arkansan, I guess 8 generations. Went to the University of Arkansas. Went to high school in Missouri, but came back to God's country. And right out of college, worked at the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. And then it was either time to go run my own chamber somewhere or do something else. And I did something else and went to acting school in New York. And midlife crisis at 27. And after 17 years in New York and Los Angeles, came back to Arkansas to raise our family, and fortunately was able to come back and be back at the Little Rock Regional Chamber again. And 12 years ago was asked to start what is now known as Arkansas Learns. The name was borrowed by our governor for the acronym, but I have been in education advocacy for the past 12 years.
Yes.
Right,
Good for you.
right. Are you a trout fisherman, being from Mountain Home?
Well, being from Mountain Home, I'm an all fisherman.
All fishermen. That's right. You got the
Bass,
ones too.
crappie, bluegill, anything that's biting.
Okay. Good. Well, we're glad to have both of you.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
We have you received in your packet the minutes from our last meeting, and if you have any questions, we'll entertain any questions, and if not, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that be approved as submitted.
Okay. Just give everybody a chance. Anybody have any questions?
I didn't have a question.
Okay. There's been a motion made for approval, and if there's no questions, we will vote at this time. Everybody in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody against, say nay. And they pass unanimously. Next, we have election of officers, which generally customarily we've had 2-year terms for the officers. That's not set in stone. It's not in the bylaws. It's just what we've done. So I think we need to go ahead and have another election today. It talks about having an election in the bylaws. And accept nominations from the floor. If anybody wants to nominate anybody else, I've threatened Woody with nominating him for chairman. And
I'm nominating Wes.
yeah, he's bigger than me and he's liable to whip me. But at this time, I'll just open it for any nominations. And then we can have discussion.
And I'd like to nominate you as chairman again.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll nominate Woody for vice chairman, so.
I'd like to nominate Ann as her treasurer.
That's right.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, could we get a second on those nominations from one of the commissioners?
I second it.
Thank you. There, your first order of business. There you go.
Yes, first of
The nominations have been made and seconded by Maria Sullivan, and at this time, all in favor of the slate that we presented, vote aye.
aye.
All against, say nay. And it passes. Next is the chairman's report, and I just want to say, I went to the Antiques Roadshow up in Rogers, and what a great deal. I mean, what a showplace for Arkansas PBS, and Rogers, and Crystal Bridges, and Marge Bentley. I want to give her a hand right now. It was incredible what she pulled off up there, and others. I know everybody else was involved also. But it was an incredible time. We had an evening before, and then I had a piece that I was going to show, and I was so excited about it, and I couldn't find it in my garage when I went to get it. But I had a friend with me, and a young man named Kendi from, I guess, our fundraising arm showed us around, and our piece did not make it. He had a Life magazine of Central High, which we thought was really cool, with the mailing label of Orville Faubus on it. Just think the history behind that. And but we didn't make it to be filmed. So I tried to pull all strings I could. I kept talking about Courtney Pledger, and nobody, who?
Thank you. Pulling strings.
But just to tell you, since I didn't get to present mine, I'll tell you what I had, which I couldn't find. I had this book. At one season in life, I worked for Walmart. I was at a real estate attorney there, and we had the associate store. And I walked in, and there's this book from Orville Faubus called Down from the Hills. And so I looked at it for sale for $1. So I opened up, and in the cover was this real nice personal letter to Sam Walton from Orville Faubus. I've had that ever since then. And I finally get to show it at the Antiques Roadshow, and I can't find it. So anyway, it'll show up.
It'll show up now.
Next time I'll come. And Courtney, I'll pass it to you for the director's report. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Wes. I'd also like to welcome our 2 new commissioners. Welcome. Glad to have you. And I'd just like to share some brief thoughts today on Arkansas PBS and really, who we are as an agency and as a network. We often hear that Arkansas PBS is so much more than television, and I believe that has never been more true than it is at this moment. So yes, we are an over-the-air broadcaster and a multi-platform media organization, but at our core, we really are essentially a service organization for Arkansans statewide. PBS, Arkansas PBS, the S stands for service, and we're a significant resource for K through 12 content and services, and we're also a really powerful community convener, as Wes just referred to the great gathering up at Crystal Bridges. It brings all community together from all across the state.
Well, I think they had 4,000 participants. Is that right, Marge?
Around there, I think. Yeah, closer to 5,000.
Oh my gosh.
And it also brought
No wonder I
people-
didn't get selected, but anyway.
It also brought people from, I believe, 46 out of 50 states or something like that, I heard from GBH. So all of these people coming in to see Northwest Arkansas, which is great. As a statewide network, we work really hard to serve the underserved communities and in the rural areas as well as our cities and towns. And several years ago, we received funding from the Arkansas COVID Committee to be able to expand our broadcast infrastructure. And we were able to expand from 6 transmitters to 10. And at the time, we had 76% population coverage, which I had always heard, oh, we cover everybody, and I kept hearing people saying, well, I can't get you over here, and we can't see you over there, and we sent an engineer out and figured it out that we had 76% coverage. So with the expansion, we're now at just over about 96%, which is a massive difference. And our 10 state transmitters and 18 microwave things which kick the signal where it needs to go serve as our essential nerve center of the state's early warning system. And that's been very much at the top of all of our minds recently with all the storms and the tornadoes, or just how important that is. One fact that as I was writing this occurred to me that I don't know that many people know. Public media created the model of the state network originally for wide geographic areas that are rural. So Alabama was the first state network. We were early on. And so the reason that was an efficiency for public media is that if it was left up to every little community, like Searcy or Mountain Home or any of the small communities across our rural state, they would be without those free services because they wouldn't be able to maintain a station. We see small stations across the country struggle, and particularly if you have as many as we do in Arkansas, that just would not be a workable situation. So they came up with that model really to serve underserved rural audiences. One of the distinguishing characteristics of our network that really separates us from commercial media is our deep community connection. We are rooted in communities all across the state. We're passionate about serving them in ever-increasing ways. And this connection with communities a lot of times is centered around our partnership with the Arkansas Department of Education and K through 12 education, as well as our really consistent pipeline of locally produced programs that speak specifically to Arkansans. Like Totality, the Great Arkansas Eclipse, Arkansas Treasures, which is our own Antiques Roadshow, our in-studio special recently, Autism Amplified, 7 Days, the Opioid Crisis in Arkansas, which in addition to its broadcast audience had 1.5 million digital views, not just in Arkansas, but across the country. We have our upcoming documentary about what we call Cash and Bates, but its working title is about the artistry behind the creation of these statues for Statuary Hall of Johnny Cash and Daisy Bates. And Mystery League, which we're going to see a little bit of in just a bit, public affairs, our high school sports championships, which really are in place to honor and lift up our student athletes across the state. But in addition to those things, we have a lot of standalone engagement that happens all across the state. We had a map prior to COVID where we had dots all over it where you could see all the places we had physically been, during that year. I think we're going to be recreating that. West. Turn off your phone. So we have many early reading events across the state. In our upcoming events, you'll hear about some of those. That we have an initiative called Read to Succeed, that's funded by the Taylor Foundation. We are funded for Ready to Learn by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And we have events like we're bringing back Dads on the Carpet, which are reading events with dads and their kids in different places across the state. And, one of our huge audiences that we don't sometimes we don't think about them as audience, but they are our over 92,000, right? Educators who use our Arkansas Ideas. It's the most utilized teacher PD in the state, with over 4 million hours, credit hours awarded, which is really astonishing. We have Mr. Rogers' Sweater Drive that has grown exponentially over the past several years. Our video archival project, which is going to save 50 years roughly, is it 45? Dwayne, you know the numbers on that.
27,000.
27,000 magnetic tapes over 50 years. That really is the video history of Arkansas, which is really important. And then one thing that I'm really proud of, and Dwayne Wilbur's been working on that, is that we have a project called In Their Words that was done several years back, and it hadn't really been put to full use. So we put our heads together and said, all of these invaluable interviews with hundreds of World War II veterans from Arkansas that were there but not really being utilized. And we, through Senator Bozeman, we reached out to the Library of Congress, and we are now batch by batch turning those over to the Library of Congress so they're available for generations to come. 60th anniversary is coming up, if you can believe that, in 2026. And, we have a documentary called Champion Trees that's, I think, a great analogy for Arkansas PBS, that we are really a 60-year-old tree that has spread branches across the whole state, with all kinds of free benefits and services for learners of all ages, and in every single one of Arkansas' 75 counties. I want to thank you, commissioners, for being here today and your continued support of Arkansas PBS. I do have one other little tidbit that came into me, which is, I know we have talked about the Nielsen ratings, and we have, it's fairly expensive to maintain those or to purchase those, but PBS has realized that in this time of rapid change that there's a lot of infrastructure that national PBS can provide the stations, so that the stations have the time to do what the stations really need to do. It's the heart of PBS, which are the local communities. So if we're worried about, how do we get on Hulu, how do we get on YouTube TV, how do we get the Nielsen's, that can draw away from what should be our absolute focus, which is our local community. So PBS has received a significant grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to provide PBS member stations with Nielsen local dashboards that will provide in-depth audience data. The dashboards will tell us, local market linear television audience data to give stations an enhanced understanding of our audience. So I don't know exactly the timing on that, but I think it's a very exciting twist and plus that PBS is going to be offering all stations across the country. So I thought you all would like to hear that. Anyway, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
All right, Gary.
76% to 96% is a significant jump. how do we compare, or could we find out how we compare not only in the growth during that period of time of coverage,
Right.
but also 96% is a very impressive statewide coverage. I know not all networks are statewide,
Right.
but we're competitive in Arkansas.
Right.
It'd be nice to know how we compare to other states
Right.
in that regard, and I think it would strengthen our arguments on other fronts if we could point to something
Good
like
idea,
that.
good idea.
Absolutely. And I mean, I did do an awful lot of research, I don't have it in front of me now, about what other state networks, what their coverage percentages are. Somewhere I have that, so it'd be not hard to pull that back together. I think, public media's objective is 100%, 99, almost 100% universal coverage for everybody across the country. I know that sometimes that falls a little short in some places because others that don't have state networks, there may be some gaps in between. So that's a piece of information that I've always been curious about that I will do a little digging into to find out what that coverage is like. But very good point. Thank you.
I will say, as I walked in this morning, I thought I was walking to CBS or something, seeing all those Emmys in the trophy case.
We had to take the vast majority of them out.
Well, was that from last
to
year or
make
what?
room for the new ones because there was no room in the building. So Dwayne has stashed the older ones somewhere.
They're in finance, I believe.
Right.
Filing cabinet.
Finance.
About half of them.
Pretty impressive. So, well, I'm going to put extra shelves in there if you need them. Put all of them in there. So.
You gonna do that for us?
Well, with our new commissioners, we need to give them jobs to do.
I'll ask another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned, first of all, kudos to the team on the coverage of state championship sports.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like local coverage. It looks
Yeah, it's very professional.
very well done. I know you also cover the Quiz Bowl
Yes.
and other things. Have you considered state fair judging? Because that's also a state championship.
You know what's interesting is it has occurred to me, but you brought it up again. You reminded me Iowa, because that state fair in Iowa is, I mean, they're just crazy for it. They have all kinds. It's a big, big deal every year. Their state fair, but they don't cover just those competitions. They cover, more than the hog calling contests and things like that. And it's a big favorite in Iowa. So, I mean, that's something we should, think
No, that's
about.
good
Well, it's a
idea.
central location.
It is a good idea.
It's, since we only have quarterly meetings, we have to bring these things up now because it's in the fall.
Right.
It's also agriculture, FFA across Arkansas is probably the unsung hero of career readiness. And if we can do more to highlight what's going on, I mean, there are welding competitions. It's not just animals. There are all
Oh, wow.
kinds of things going on there. So I think as far as just production logistics,
You've
you're
got
in one place.
one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be of interest across the state, I think.
Right. Very good. Very good. We'll explore. I don't know if we can pull it together as fast as the fall. We possibly can, but we have to. Lindsay has us on a wheel of knowing what our capacity is and what
Sure.
we can do. So we pre-plan a lot, but we can certainly look at that. Be great. Anybody else? All right. So I think up next is financial report from
Jason.
our new
New
CFO.
employee, yeah, new employee
Jason
on our
Kunoff.
side.
Way to go, Jason.
Yeah, we're glad to have
Glad to
you.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, everybody.
Grab that microphone if everybody.
Bring it closer. All right.
Thank you.
Are we in a good place now? All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. Certainly, the financial report was provided beforehand. I'll just hit some highlights. Overall, our cash balances are healthy. Our major contributing revenue streams, of course, being the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Foundation, state general revenue sources, as well as the Department of Education. And so we're very thankful for our partners in helping us achieve the mission here at Arkansas PBS. I provided some level of high-level information regarding those revenue streams. Overall, we are anticipating bringing everything in within budget, and so we're trekking very well to date, and that will be wrapping up at the end of June. And so this is the end of the state fiscal year. So far, so good. And then at the end of the financial report, we are, of course, proposing, or we've been approved by the legislature, and with your ratification, we will be adopting a relatively flat budget for the next fiscal year. But overall, the cash is good, the finances are good, we're in a good position. And so we're certainly very, very thankful, and I'm very thankful to be coming into this at this time. And overall, the financial stability is good, and I look forward to continuing to work with our partners to increase those resources and to provide even more services to the citizens of Arkansas. So I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me. Is there anything, any questions, anything I can answer for anybody? All right,
Okay, thank
seeing
you,
none.
Jason. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Lindsay on the metrics report.
All right, so Lindsay Ingram, I've met everyone, and I've met our newest commissioners, Maria and Gary, but just to reiterate my title and what I do here, so I'm the head of audience. I lead our marketing and engagement team. So everything you see on social media or the website, or you see a print ad or anything, my team is responsible for that. So every month I do a data and insights presentation to our leadership team, also to my team, so that they're aware of how their efforts are paying off, because we have had 2 fiscal years of a lot of growth and a lot of success, so a lot of hard work from the marketing and engagement team. But I present this on a monthly basis, and then the way that it falls with the quarterly meetings, because I pull this at the beginning of the month for the month prior. Usually this doesn't make it in your packet because, for instance, the data that I need I can't get until couple of days before this presentation, but we will provide this after so that you can dig into the details, because I don't think that you have this PDF in your pack. But I present this every quarter for the month that's most current, and then for this one, unfortunately, the way that our end of fiscal year commission meeting, with it falling at the beginning of June instead of the beginning of July, I've put some data in here to show you how we've tracked against the full fiscal year to date, but obviously with another 30 days, these numbers are going to continue to rise. So this is not going to have everything. So let me see if I can, I'm going to scroll. Oh, no, I can't do it. Okay. That makes it easier. Scrolling, you never know if you're going to stop at the right place. So the format is, I keep it consistent so that, again, so month over month, we can see, everybody knows how to read the dashboard, and we can see how everything's growing. I have been presenting this. I've been here almost 2 years. I've been presenting this every single month. So I have this report dating back for many, many months. But I tried to set it up to where I think this is 5 slides total, something that's digestible that people can get familiar with, and they can see a big picture of things. So on this first slide, at the top, you see who is our audience, and that's according to social and website data. So that's data that we see when we track who's following us on social media, and then also who's visiting our website. That differs a little bit from, we did a pretty extensive project. Marge and I worked with Axiom. We were able to get an in-kind service from Axiom to take our email and our home address data, and then back that, they can kind of do a reverse lookup and see who our audience is based on those who financially contribute to us or those who are subscribed to our email list. That ended up that audience is a little different, so what you can see is with the top of that starts to show that our funnel is, we bring them in a little younger, 35 to 44 female. By the time that they become members or subscribers, they're in the 45 plus. Again, when they start financially contributing, they're in about the 65 plus. So we have a funnel of kind of nurturing them from 35 to 65 when we get them paying. She and I together have collaborated a lot on how do we get the 35 plus group to start also donating. That's our challenge of how do you get, and that group is going to be more of the, they have I can't remember the name of your device, but it's like at events, you can swipe a card and give $10 right there on the spot. That's kind of the method or the pattern of younger donators. They're not going to really commit to I'm going to give you $100 a year or whatever. They're going to kind of be on the spot. You see it with GoFundMes and things like that. It's going to be more of a, we have an immediate need. You can give $10 today, or you can give $50. So we're working on that challenge and how we get financial contributors at a younger age. But you can kind of see how the funnel goes across. The not shocking, but I guess it was surprising to me. Our audience is very wealthy. Definitely our financial contributing audience. They're very wealthy. They're very educated. Household incomes are over $100,000. A lot of them, their net worth is over $500,000. So they are an educated, wealthy audience. We are not talking to people who, even though we serve all of the rural areas, we are talking to and people who are big fans of PBS. Again, they have deep pockets that I told Marge. I was like, there's more juice to squeeze. There's more juice to squeeze out of the lemon. So that consistently stays the same. That data will always be at the top of this report whenever you see it. And then across the bottom, all of the icons, again, this is for a quick look at how all the platforms that we can track, how they're moving. And so they're either green and going up, or they're orange and going down. And this ebbs and flows. Usually, just like this, most everything is going up, which we're very happy to see. And some of it's usually significant. So from month to month, like the website, in the month of May versus April, the website traffic went up 65%. That is due to us forcing Google to recrawl our site. You can do that periodically so that all of your pages are captured. So that was, we were telling Google, hey, go look at all of our pages. You may not have looked at it since we launched last year. We have a lot of new content. We want that content served. So that led to a significant spike on the website. The PBS stream, so that's everything that people can stream on a smart TV device. They can stream the PBS app on a phone, or they can stream it on the internet. And so that's all combined. We typically see, as we head into the summer months, that numbers start to go down. That's a pattern that we see consistently. It's similar to commercial television. The big launches are usually in the fall and at the beginning of the calendar year, of when national PBS will put out a lot of new programmings, new seasons. So the summer kind of tapers down. That's not when they launch a lot of their new programs. And we see our audience, again, peak and valley. We see that line up with when new shows come out. So again, the 4% decrease in the month of May is not something that concerns us. We've seen that pattern. The PBS app downloads, this is new for probably since the last commission meeting. This is something that we just learned that we're able to track. And so very happy to see that, again, in a single month, that was almost 4,000 new people downloading the PBS app. And again, that can be either through a smart TV or on their phone or on the computer to be able to stream our content. So from month to month, from April to May, that jumped almost 34%, so that's significant. We've been nurturing Instagram a lot, so that Facebook tends to be a little bit older of an audience. Instagram is a little younger. TikTok is even younger, but we as a state agency are not allowed to use TikTok. So we spend a lot of our energy nurturing Instagram. And so if you follow us on Instagram, you will see we do a lot of reels. Reels get us a lot of attention with our sports. Most recently with baseball, softball, our producer on the marketing team produced 12 videos that are kind of like highlight reels. As soon as the game's done, he's got the video up so that people can see, impressive plays and things like that. Combined, those 12 videos, they've been up for, I guess, would that be about 2 weeks, Veronica? About 2 weeks. They have 60,000 views combined of those 12 Instagram reels. Instagram reels get you over to an audience that isn't following you yet. So that's the reason that we have almost a 7% growth in the month of May, is those reels really help us bring an audience in who might otherwise not see our content. So we've been nurturing that for the past 2 years. Facebook and Twitter, or X, stay pretty consistent. Again, those audiences, they're already pretty saturated. As you can see, Facebook has, in the month of May, we netted at 40,000 followers, so that stays pretty consistent. We've almost saturated probably what we'll get as an audience on Facebook. That's the reason we're focusing on Instagram. We started tracking LinkedIn, so LinkedIn was a surprise to all of us that our audience, which it all makes sense when you really think about it. When we did the Axim data, they showed that our audience, a lot of them spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So that's a channel that we're now really nurturing. They said that even though the audience tends to skew 65 plus, These are people who sit on boards and commissions, so they're active on LinkedIn because they're still keeping up with the business community. So we put most of our local content on LinkedIn because, again, we want that business audience, we want that 65 plus audience to stay in tune with what we're doing. And then our email is probably our most volatile. So we have a vendor right now that we are in the process of going through competitive bids to procure a new email provider. Our current vendor is, their data is not super reliable, and so this number is usually the most volatile. From month to month, it could look like we could go in and clean up a list, or we could get a prospect list. So the foundation through PBS is able to get prospect lists of these may be people in your state that aren't getting your email list right, or your emails right now. They might be interested, and so let's say we get 50,000 new people that we send an email to, and maybe 1,000 of that takes. Well, that obviously is going to send our email number up 1 month, and then if they don't subscribe, then it's going to send it way down. So that number usually is our biggest peak and valley. But happy to see that it went up 4% this month. That was due to Roadshow. So just as we talked about with the 5,000 people who attended, 10,000 people submitted for lottery tickets. So PBS National, or GBH, the producing station for that, did a lottery where up to 10,000 people could submit to get free tickets to that event. We had people from Canada, from Hawaii, every single state in the U.S. submit for tickets. Most, I'm trying to remember, it's been a minute since I looked at the exact numbers. Probably 80% of those who submitted for the free lottery tickets agreed to receive our emails. So again, that number jumped for our email list because those people said, we'd like to see what we'd like to be on your email list. So yeah, Roadshow paid off in a lot more ways than one, but we were happy to see that that helped our email list grow, and we'll continue to nurture that. We've already sent some emails specifically to those who won lottery tickets, those who didn't win lottery tickets, and just ask them, here's some other newsletters that we send out. If you'd like to be on, we have about 6 different newsletters. If you'd like to be on any of these specific lists, you can subscribe, and again, we'll continue to watch that to see if people outside of the state. We focus mostly on those that are in surrounding states because, as you'll see in Marge's report, I believe, we do have a lot of people who don't live in Arkansas but are actually watchers of Arkansas PBS. They continue to fund us, and they continue, most likely people who lived here at one time and then moved, let's say, to Missouri or Louisiana or whatever, they continue to be funders of Arkansas PBS and watchers of Arkansas PBS. So that was a long, most commission meetings, it's not that long. I'm going through a lot of detail this time because I know there are several of you who are just seeing this for the first time. Second slide is always what it looks like as our growth year over year. So the orange line's on there, and I know this is a lot to look at. So again, we'll share this after so you can dig into it in more detail. But the orange shows how our fiscal 24 has been tracking compared to the blue, which is our fiscal 23. So just like I was mentioning with the PBS streams, those peaks and valleys, pretty consistent. I mean, that count, I believe it was October, and I cannot remember, Veronica, you'd have to help me with the shows that premiered, but there were some really good premieres in October, and that's the reason fiscal 24, the orange under the PBS streams, that's why that peaked so high, was there was some really good content that came out from national during that time. But like the website, it always kind of amazes me to see how closely our peaks and valleys align from year over year, and I would expect that trend to continue as we go. The peaks and valleys, I can tell you with the website, that's around sports. So March is basketball. That's our biggest sport that's watched. A lot of people watch it through our website. So we get a ton of traffic. So what I was saying on comparing month to month, so for March, and I'm probably going to get this number wrong, but I want to say that was 65,000 visitors to our site in the month of March. We average about 22,000 a month, so when that drops back down to a 22,000, it looks like a significant decline, but that's only because it was such a significant peak the month prior. Email, as I mentioned, you can see where we obviously have cleaned up some lists. So after at the start of this calendar year, we went in and did some major cleanup. I want to say Sarah on Marge's team and mentioned she cleaned up 100,000 email addresses out of our list that just were inactive. So again, it makes our numbers go down pretty significantly whenever we do list cleanup, but it's important that we are not continuing to send emails who are not active. So we don't want to have numbers in there that are faux numbers. We want an engaged audience. The app downloads in the lower right, you can see again, kind of ironic that just year over year we're going to see the exact same peaks. Those peaks also align with sports. So again, it shows you the importance of how much sports pays off for us, because it does bring in a big audience. This next slide I know is also going to be overwhelming for looking at it from afar, to explain how this is set up. And again, we look at this consistently month over month. This is both from the standpoint of my team as marketing engagement being able to see what is resonating with our audience that we need to continue promoting or stop promoting, and then it also helps the production team know these are consistently the shows that people are watching, and the next slide is even more helpful for the production team. But this shows them consistently month over month. They're getting to see this is the content, these are the amount of views that they're getting. So this is the content that we need to continue to produce down this genre. So we have 4 different places that we can track. YouTube views is the top 10 across, so that's the top row. And so as Courtney mentioned, our 7 days opioid crisis, there's rarely anything that knocks it out of the first position. It usually has anywhere from 15 to 20,000. Last month it had almost 34,000 views on YouTube alone. So that one video when was that produced?
In 2021.
2021. So it's a 3-year-old piece of content, and it's continuing to get those types of views. It gets those types of views on YouTube because of the description. It has keywords in there that if someone is looking for to help a family member with an opioid crisis or whatever, that is a piece of content. I think the DEA was it that just reached out to us. Misogyny is going to be speaking on a panel. They saw the video on YouTube and they said, "This is an amazing piece. We'd like to invite you to come speak on a panel of how important it is for people who might have family members or friends that are facing this struggle, how important it is to be open and talk about this." So that continues to open up opportunities for our agency. The second row, local program streams. So these 3 with the icon of PBS, again, this is all data that we're able to mine from PBS National. They give us this. The reason I separated out into 3 different is I can do a filter. So the third row, that general audience streams, that's everything. It's locked off to the state of Arkansas, so it's geo-targeted to our state, but it's everything that somebody was watching across any type of piece of content. So then what I do so that we can look a little bit deeper, because again, you can see, and my eyes are failing me, but I think it says like 6,183 on Call the Midwife. So, 6,183 streams on Call the Midwife in the month of May for our geo-targeted location of Arkansas is obviously going to be more than a lot of our local shows. So what I do is I pull out, and I also do a top 10 of our local productions. So that second row is everything that's been produced out of this shop. I do a top 10 of how all of that content stacks up so that, again, we can see what's resonating. Every once in a while, we get really lucky, and you'll see that with Mystery League. It shows up on second row and third row, that has enough streams that it will actually then it will fall into the general audience streams, which is great. That's where we want it to be. We have strategically, over the last year, we launched new websites last August, and we have strategically been pushing the audience because we can track the streams. We have been pushing everybody to watch that through the PBS app. We used to kind of embed some on the website. We would send some of it to YouTube, and we had our views all over the place, and it was really hard to get good solid numbers of what people are watching because we had fragmented where people could watch it. We have now taken that to where we're funneling everybody to what we call PBS Media Console. That's kind of their database of where all of that's housed. We funnel everybody there so that the numbers are all stacking up there. So that is the reason that Mystery League is showing the numbers that it is. If we had put all of those episodes on YouTube and we had some social media posts had driven people to Facebook and some were driving to watch it on an over-the-top device, we would have numbers that are all over the place, and it would not paint a good picture of what is the real viewership of a show. Long-winded way of saying we're tracking this pretty closely every single month to see how this content is resonating. And then the last row, you don't have to pay too much attention to. That is if people have a passport. So if they do the $5 a month membership, minimum membership to be a passport member, they can be logged in, and that just tracks as a logged in member. Here's what they're watching, because they have access to content that the general audience doesn't have. The general audience sees everything that's almost like a live broadcast. Passport can go back and watch old seasons. They often get, as a benefit, they'll get access to some of the shows before they actually make it to general audience. So that's the last row. And then the last slide, and then I'll stop. I feel like I've talked a lot. Again, I sort of do this for the benefit of our production team. I take all of those shows and all of that data, I stack it up into the genres of what people are watching, so that when we're thinking, and again, probably unlikely that our agency would get enough money to produce a drama like A Call the Midwife. Those are multi-year, multi-million-dollar productions. So so that drama is usually our biggest category. A lot of people are tuning into PBS to watch drama. But science and nature is consistently, almost every single month, our second highest. So people love outdoors content. They love nature. We had Dirt was a great documentary that was produced here in-house. Totality, the Eclipse documentary. Again, that's more recent, so that showed up in the month of May. But science and nature content is usually our second most watched genre. And then between culture and history, those sort of waffle back and forth. Sometimes they'll have, like it does now, they'll have an equal amount of 4 shows in each. Sometimes one will have 5 and one will have 3. Just depends on the month, but those are usually culture and history fall right behind science and nature. News and public affairs usually is either going to have 3 shows or 4 shows that consistently people are watching month over month. Education and children, because we have great education and children shows we produce out of here. Almost always all 3 of those recent, Quiz Bowl, Mystery League, and Rise and Shine, show up on this report month over month. And then the Home and How To, Antiques Roadshow, again, because that is a big show for everyone. Everyone across the country loves that show. Almost always consistently shows up every month, as does Cooking on the Wild Side, which is an old show for us, but continues to be one of our viewers' favorites. So that was a lot. I feel like I need to take a drink of water.
Great report. Can I piggyback on that?
Yes.
Just one thought, because, with our mission of free services and obviously free programming and social media and email and all of these efforts are important for programming and for audience numbers and all of that. But I always see it as public awareness of everything free that we offer. So everything that we do for people in Arkansas that they can take advantage of absolutely for free. If they don't know about it, they can't use it. So this growth to me also says all of the things that we're offering outside of programming, it's reaching ears and eyes that it wouldn't reach otherwise. So good job.
Thank you. I will entertain questions if I have not overwhelmed anyone.
Go ahead. I've asked enough.
Maybe the same question.
And just tell me if you need me to back up to any
Well, the
slides.
first slide that you had up, it was interesting that the streaming was down, but the app download was pretty significantly up. So what's the explanation for that? What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
you can see the numbers there. So we went from April, we had 28.99 app downloads. In the month of May, we went up to 38.72. But when you jump over to streams, again, it's a 4% decline, but that's 3,000 streams. So that's out of 70, that was 76, almost 77 in the month of April, down to 73. And again, just like on this slide, we're going to see that decline. You can see the blue at June of last year. We'll probably see that same nosedive. Again, PBS does not put out a lot of new programming from national in the summer months because people are gone and traveling and it's kids' summer break and everything. So we will probably see that same. You can see the orange and the blue there almost tracking identical. So we will most likely see that nosedive again. But then as soon as the fall comes back, just like October, they had a ton of premieres and we had a higher peak this year than we did last year.
And the decline didn't bother me that much. That makes sense to me. That's how my viewing goes too.
Yeah.
Summer gets busy, you get outside more.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that the app download, which is how you stream, would be.
Yeah, well, and again, I guess you can see it on this slide too. So with those app downloads in the lower right corner, we see those peaks. You see how it jumped up in the month of May and will likely jump down in the month of June if the trend follows, because those are when we have sports. So people download it because it's easier to watch. Like they can download it on their phone and they can watch it. Or, I have a Roku TV and so I have the PBS app downloaded on my Roku TV. So all those app downloads come from places where people can stream it and watch it. And we see those peaks, that those are all, December is football, March is basketball, and May is baseball. So we see it aligned with sports. Sports
sense.
brings in a good audience for us. We're just, we continue, we got to convert those sports viewers to financially contributing members, but it brings in a good audience for us.
Well, that's the reason we did it in the first place, to do
Right.
all the sports, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the reason it's important that it is a professional quality, because again, a lot of people rely on it anytime. We're always there. Again, we're doing Instagram reels, we're doing social media, marketing engagement is always on the ground at each of these events, and we always have people come up to us if we're wearing the t-shirts and say, you know, how can I watch this? Or, you know, my grandparents want to see, they you know, they live in Mountain Home, they're not able to drive down to Central Arkansas or whatever, and so it's a service that we provide for people who want to tune into. I mean, I wish that it was something where we had it more consistently, but those are the state championships, so that, you know, it's the end of all of those seasons. It's the end of football, it's the end of basketball, it's the end of baseball, and so it's a big game. It's a lot of pressure on those kids, and
What
so
we also ought to track is like how many scholarships.
yeah.
come
We
about-
have a lot of
about
people who
because
use we have a lot of people who use the
using that
footage
to scout
Yep.
for scholarships. You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. So, Gary, you had a question.
Yes, and it's my own ignorance. If we're unable to track our core business, which is broadcasting to all of the state, isn't this just web audience?
This is, again, it could be that they're watching it on a mobile device, on a computer, or a smart
Streaming.
TV. Yeah, streaming.
Have we ever in the history, I'm so encouraged by the Nielsen possibility, but our core, and it was really jarring when you said our audience skews $100,000. That's nice, but that's not what our core purpose is. It's to reach those that are unreachable in many ways. So as we transition or get to Nielsen, I think that's going to hopefully give us a better view of what our true
Correct.
audience is
Correct.
overall. And then if it does and it still skews that way, I think we need to address that.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, we're very excited about Nielsen. Since the day that I've gotten here, that's something that I've wanted that data, because it's important. You know, we're missing a piece of the puzzle.
What have we ever in the history? Do you know? Have we ever had metrics for gauging broadcast audience?
Courtney, I don't know if I could answer that.
I don't know that I have an accurate answer to that either.
Not since I've been here.
Not
I've been here
since-
2 years.
I wanted to throw in a
Since I've been-
caveat as well, that $100,000 plus, that's specifically our donor base. That's not
Yeah.
the
The audience.
email base of all, even
Right.
inside of the Axiom
Yeah.
study. We have about 20,000 who are on our donor
Yeah.
email list, and about another 80,000 who are signed up as email subscribers but are not giving. So
Yes.
we don't know, the financial demographics of those won't be as high as those who
They're
are.
not. The non-member, the email subscriber is generally 45 plus audience with a household income of 75K. The reason, Gary, that it's important, the 100K, is I think before we had that data, we thought that we were tapped out. We thought that the donor base that we have right now, we cannot ask them for more money. We cannot ask them to help support us, because this is the best that we can get.
And the other piece of that is, this still only speaks to those for whom we have email addresses. To your point, connected to the Nielsen's, but also connected to those who are, who have sufficient broadband access that they're going to sign up on our email list. It's reflective of those audiences. It's not necessarily encompassing those who may not have email access or solid internet access, so they're not signing up for our e-newsletters. So I believe, and I don't have the data to back this up, but also look forward to the Nielsen's for that reason, that we're gonna find that there is a much broader range in
Good.
who's actually watching.
Thanks for clarifying that. I did confuse it. And the 75K is closer to the median income of a family of four in Arkansas.
Right.
So that's the sweet spot.
No
Yes,
one
which,
watches
again, is
sports, which makes it more.
And that's promising for us. Again, this is something that once we had that data, that's what we're now, even with, especially with an email platform, that's why it's so important to get an email vendor that we feel confident that they're doing what we need them to do and we're getting the data that we need. Because like she said, that donor base, 65 plus 100,000 K income, household income, that's 20,000. The non-member, the people who are subscribing to us and they're getting our emails every single week, that's a group of 80,000. So how do we close that gap between the 80,000 and the 20,000? Because imagine what even nominal income we could bring in if we could convert those 80,000 over. But we need a better email provider to help us granulate what are people clicking on, how do we move them. Right now it's pretty unreliable every month, and it's a vendor that has not served us. So we are working hard to get that moved as quickly as possible so we can have some better data, because that would be a big get. That's 80,000 people who are actively engaging with us. They're just not financially contributing yet, and we want to figure out why, and we want to move them over to even $5 a month, move them into being a Passport member. Again, you take 80,000 people at $5 a month, that's a pretty good chunk of change that would be a significant lift for us.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I think we're actually going to skip over Marge. We're going to go to Sajani, and then we'll jump back. So.
Thank you. So nice to be with all of you. I'll also give an introduction of myself. I know most of you, but I'm Sajani Compuris. I'm the Director of Education at the station, and I've been the Interim Director of Production since I think October of last year. And so these two units, education and production, do the majority of the production of local content. That's our role at the station. And so we have a variety of programs which we'll show you during the video showcase. But I wanted to focus a little bit about our biggest initiative, which is Arkansas Ideas. And so Arkansas Ideas has 20 plus staff dedicated to just that program. It was put into it was an act that was put into, I think, by legislators in 2005. So next year, we have our 20th anniversary. For Arkansas Ideas, it is a free online professional development portal. It's a learning management system. It's online, and it's offered for free to the entire state of Arkansas, teachers, non-certified teachers, non-licensed teachers, public schools, private schools, nurses, counselors, school administrators. So it has a wide audience or number of users. And that's why you'll see we currently have 92,000 users, and there's about 32,000 licensed teachers right now in the state. But again, it serves more than just those certified teachers. As Courtney mentioned, we have, in these past 19 years, have awarded 4.5 million credit hours to Arkansans in education. And each licensed teacher is required to take 6 days of PD to maintain their license. 6 days is the equivalent of 36 hours. Some of those hours are laws or acts that were put into place by either legislators or ADE that are required for teachers to be trained on. And to give you an example of a few of them, there is an act, the Right to Read Act. And because of that act, each teacher has to take an awareness learning path of the science of reading. We offer one of those offerings, a 14-part course where teachers can take that. It's over 15 hours of video content and resources. And so that's been very popular. Over 40,000 teachers are enrolled in that course or those courses. We also do other legislative acts like child maltreatment and human trafficking. So those are those trainings that they are required to take that help them protect children in formal instruction. And also, as they know those, every teacher is a mandated reporter. They need to understand what those rules are and what they're expected when it comes to child maltreatment and so on. So those are typically the kind of courses we get. We are now in a big project for high quality instructional materials that is coming out. That is going to be a massive course, and we're really excited to be in the middle of that right now. And then human trafficking is our next course. We have over 590 courses, so I just gave you a few, but I wanted to kind of spotlight the ones that were put into acts by legislators or ADE as required training. And Gary, you had mentioned, and I agree, one of the reasons that IDEAS was put into place was because of the rurality of our state. This is something that you can take anywhere in the state, and very often it's difficult for someone who's in a rural area to travel to where there's like a face-to-face PD. And also they're in formal instruction most of the time, so they have to take these courses after they've been with their classrooms for the day, at night. They can take it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So it's that offering where it makes it financially feasible because it's free, and that you have the flexibility to take it when it's good for you, as we all have families and things like that. We do have measurable outcomes because we're a learning management system. We have a very high-end learning management system that we use because we have such a large collection of courses. And so what that gives us is a lens into who our audience is. And I'm happy to say we have users in all 75 counties in this state using Arkansas IDEAS. And we are one of many PD offerings, but we're really happy that we see the growth. In the last 4 years, users have increased by 57%. So it continually increases. We haven't had a year where that number has decreased. This year alone, we have given over 262,000 credit hours were earned in this year, fiscal year alone. And I mentioned the 4.5. So that kind of gives you an idea. Because it's a partnership with ADE, all our programs align to Arkansas academic standards. We have teachers on staff who understand K through 12 Arkansas academic standards, and every one of our programs, including production, when it comes to kids programming like Mystery League, will align with Arkansas standards and curriculum. And so it's very important. Those two groups work very closely to give you the most engaging, beautiful video that always aligns with our educational standards for this state. So that gives you a little bit of idea. We do have face-to-face outreach, our Read to Succeed program, where we go and we read to kids and communities. That's the best way to support literacy for us and what we do. And then we have the Ready to Learn program, which goes into one region of the state. Right now, we're in Jonesboro for the past, I think we're in the 3rd year now. So for 3 years, bringing those resources to the educators there so they have those to use within their region. And so I think in your packet you have, it's the only thing that's blue, but it's the education report. I updated that on my team and I, who are amazing, the education team, we updated this about a week ago, so it's very current, and it really shows you kind of all the different activities that we produce in the education department. So I think that's it for my education-specific report. If you have any questions.
Sajni, I have one.
Yes.
I was told this once upon a time, but I'm not sure if I'm up to date on it. Who can get access to Arkansas IDEAS?
It is certified teachers, so it connects to the AIL system. So when you try to log in, it's connected to ADE to see that you have an AILS number.
Well, I thought once upon a time I was also told that teachers could regain their certification by doing this continuing ed, but if they're not licensed, like if they let their licensure lapse, can they not use this to fill that gap that they have to earn? And how do they go about getting in if they're not currently licensed?
Yes, I will get you the exact answer for that, but yes, I believe a lot of.
But I mean, I think that's something in a teacher shortage era that we're in, we
Absolutely.
need to remind people that you
They
don't
can
have to
come
go
here.
back to college like you used to have to do.
Yes.
Have to go take 9 hours, and these days that cost a bundle.
Right.
Or
And there
6
are-
hours or whatever it was.
Absolutely, and there is and it's on the first page of the report, the Arkansas History Program. I believe when teachers come in from out of state and will teach here, they can take our Arkansas History Study, our program, and often they often use that more than taking a college course because that costs money, right? And they can take this on their pace and also for free. So absolutely, I'll get you an exact answer on what the steps are when they're trying to get recertified.
And more than me, I think we need to make sure that's available to people
Absolutely.
who are trying to get back into the profession.
Yes, I will get you the steps that we take to do it, but it's an excellent way to get back into your licensure. Yes. Any
I
other
have a
questions?
question,
Yes.
Sashi. When you were talking about measurable outcomes of the number of users, is
Yes.
that what you're measuring?
We do want, so we have a grant from Department of Ed, and one of the performance measures is to maintain a certain percentage of users. So that's one of them. To test them, to assess them that they have gained knowledge, right? They take this course. Did you learn something from it? We do 2 methods of testing. So the first one is a 10-question assessment that was Department of Ed provided what would constitute a passing grade for this course. So they take child maltreatment. They have to get an 80% or higher for us to give them those credit hours. They can't just take it without that testing and get the credit hours. So that gives us a measurable assessment, evidence-based, that they actually learned something from the course. And then when I came here about 4 years ago, we implemented a new measurement really for our team called pre and post testing, which is evidence-based, where if it was a topic that they should have some knowledge of because they're licensed teachers, we would test their knowledge prior to taking the course and then after the course and look at that increase, that clearly the course made a difference because they had this score at the beginning, they took the course, now their scores went exponentially higher. And in, I think, one of these pages, we explain those. You can't do that for all courses because some of the information or ideas or things like that that we provide are new. So there's no way to say, we're going to test you on your prior knowledge when it is new information. So pre and post testing only works if it's applicable because they should have prior knowledge. So those are the 2 ways. So it's testing just like we test students, assess them on theirs. The teachers get that when they have to take a course.
Well, I guess that's where I'm going here. So there's users and then there's learners. So if one of the, what did you call it? Production, what was PD?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's
Professional
new
develop-
terminology. What does
Yes,
that stand for?
professional development course.
Professional development. Okay, so our teachers are learning more about bullying. Then how do we measure there's a good, positive outcome of less bullying, across the state? Or if we're teaching, like say a reading, how to be a better tutor. Our goal, Dr. Oliva said, is higher literacy, and to our mandated Learns Act to help, in that mandation with everything that we do. And so when we're talking about measuring users, I think we need to include measuring what we've learned, and by I don't know how we do that. Nielsen may come in and help us with that too. But,
And
positive outcomes in what the governor has established through Learns, I think is a big priority for us, don't you?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of programs that go into implementing the LEARNS Act. We are one of those offerings, so they have lots of programs that contribute to the increase of student achievement. And so all of us are in there to help that. What students are assessed on is reading at meeting grade level reading or exceeding it, math, exceeding that. They may not necessarily be assessed on like bullying or the reduction of that. What we do is we help arm the teachers so they have the qualities and the knowledge to help students increase. So that's the ultimate goal. All of these programs that come in, and there's likely hundreds if you kind of look through the LEARNS Act, there's all these initiatives that go in to that ultimate goal, which is to increase student achievement. And we're just one of them. What we can do is take the goals and objectives that we are given and put some sort of measurable, evidence-based report, performance, to show that what we're doing is showing an increase of knowledge. Does that help? But really, student assessment is more in ADE's hands to decide how that would work, and so we don't necessarily get involved with the student assessment part of, yes.
Do you consider yourself a partner with ADE or a vendor for ADE?
It was established as a partnership because we're both state agencies, so it's a partnership that's 19 years long, and I think even in the act it's labeled as that. So we're absolutely a partner with them. All the courses that we do are reviewed and approved by ADE before they go out to the users. They have to align with Arkansas academic standards. They give us the goals and objectives of each of those courses. So this mandated reporting, there are actual laws, requirements for teachers. Those have to be in our course, right? So those
Yes.
are the things we can't kind of unilaterally decide what we think this is going to be. We just make it have beautiful instructional design, cover the standards, cover the content, so these teachers can have learned something, have gained that knowledge, and we test them that they did.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But to piggyback on Ms. Sullivan's comment, this week and last, I could argue over the past few weeks, one of the largest providers of professional development has come under scrutiny because it was proven that the professional development did not lead to improved student academic outcomes. And I would encourage, since we think of ourselves as a partner and not a vendor, that we seek a comparable study from the Office for Education Policy out of the University of Arkansas. And we use the data that you've collected over the years, and we have an objective report on, are these courses improving or not the student academic outcomes in Arkansas? It won't cost this commission anything. It's an independent report by an organization which is respected by the legislature. But I think we all have to get into the business of quantifiable results. Ultimately, it's not the delivery of professional development, what I think was the original agreement with ADE. It is, does this improve student outcomes? And so just like that other vendor rose or fell based on that report, I think it would be instructive and also illuminating for both the department, and AETN is not the expert on what professional development should be. We're relying on those folks over there. But I think the scrutiny should also be directed at the department for, this is the second, AETN is considered the second highest budgeted vendor for professional development. This week in the House Senate Committee on Education, it was number 2 on the slide. So I think if we can do that, it will elevate our view in this sphere. It may create more opportunity
Yes.
for us. And when you have something that's quantifiable, it's also something that could potentially go outside of Arkansas and become of value, like some of our other programming. So
Sure.
I would encourage, and I don't know at the proper time, a motion, or I don't know how it works. I'm new here, so I know
Yes.
that
So-
office would be receptive to a request.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do whatever. I think we get 7% of the PD funding from the state.
That's correct.
Yes, so
$2.5 million.
Right, we get 7% of the total 100% of funds to PD for Arkansas Ideas. And yes, I would be happy for that. Since it's not in our wheelhouse to assess student achievement, of course, that conversation with Department of Ed on how will do whatever measure we can.
Well, I would ask, we're an independent organization. You described the relationship as not a vendor, but a partner. I would ask that we seek the report on the effectiveness on our, and I don't think you will find an objection at the department. But I think it's important for us to be accountable and to show we want to be the best that we can be. And whether it's the group that I mentioned or another independent group, I just know that the one I mentioned is free. So, and their report on the performance of the other vendor held a lot of weight. And I think it would do us well to seek that.
Sure, and I may have,
second.
hopefully I
that's good.
didn't. We are a partnership because we're both state agencies, but Ideas is a discretionary grant provided to us by ADE. So they give all the rules on how we manage the program. There's not really the partnership where we also insert what we will do for each of the programs. I may have misspoke saying the partnership was the two agencies together, but the grant itself, the funding, comes from a discretionary, at their discretion to us, and the performance and goals and objectives of those. But yeah, I mean, we're happy. We're very proud of this program. We think that we can prove measurable outcomes on teachers gaining knowledge. So we're very happy to do whatever we can.
Okay.
All right, I think I am up next unless there are other questions for Sajni. Okay, so just for the sake of clarity and repetition here, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Marge Betley. I am the CEO of Arkansas PBS Foundation, which is the nonprofit fundraising partner to the network. You have the written foundation report, so I thought I would actually take this opportunity, especially given the presence of our two new commissioners, to present some overview information on the foundation. And as you know, the mission of the foundation is to raise resources and awareness in support of the network mission. So obviously we work very closely together. And to that end, I thought it might be useful to start with just a quick overview for you to see, generally speaking, the makeup of our fundraising, where our contributed revenue comes from. So this is FY23 because FY24 isn't over yet, so we'll have numbers to report to you in September on that. In FY23, we had $4.3 million in contributed revenue. 75% of that came from individuals. And it's usually between 75 and 80, depending on how everything rolls out. But last year it was 75%. 58% of that came from individuals or households who were giving less than $500 a year. 17% of that revenue came from individuals or households giving more than $500 a year. And the rest of that revenue then gets split up
grants brought in about 13%. That's always a somewhat fluid amount depending on what projects are happening in a given year, what grant opportunities are out there. Grants, I will say, is one area where, to the point about, what comprises our rural viewership, that's important for us to know because foundation funders are often very interested in those rural viewers as well as lower income households who are watching us. Corporate made up 6%, in-kind 2%, and bequests made up 5% last year. I want to point out that bequest revenue goes directly into our general endowment, so that is not immediately spendable as such, but rather goes to an endowment that provides long-term health and sustainability. So that's just to give you an overview of how the money comes in. Now, when we look at those individual members, donors, or as we think of them really, households, sorry, wrong direction. Here we have a heat map of Arkansas, and I wish you could see the gradation and the colors better. I will send you this report. The Excel tool to make this was not quite as contrasty as I would hope. But over the last 12 months, we have had contributions from over 26,000 households. That is across Arkansas and in our neighboring states and beyond. In Arkansas, we had over 25,000 contributing households in the last month, representing every single county in the state, which I think is hugely important and a real reflection of the ownership that this state takes over Arkansas PBS. It is, as you would imagine, counties with higher populations tend to have higher contributors in them. So on the high end, Pulaski County had 5,631 contributing households. Lafayette County had 4. Craighead County, where you reside, had 695. Baxter County, where Mountain Home is located, 337. Faulkner County, where we sit right now, 1,259. But we are very proud of the fact that we do draw contributions from every single county, and really they range anywhere from $20, $25 up into 5-figure gifts. So it takes the entirety of that contributing base to keep our programming running. Thank you. I keep going in the wrong direction. So when we look at members outside of Arkansas, again, it's primarily on those borders where we have viewers in Missouri, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, and Mississippi. But just by way of information, we have over 300 contributors who come from states outside of those regions, including a couple of intrepid donors in Canada for whom we are immensely grateful. So we consider that we really do listen to them when we look at what kinds of, in particular, what kinds of pledge programming we like to produce. We take a look at the information provided by marketing to see what is it that our viewers are interested in. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, just as we look at long-term vision for revenue generation, I want to give an example of a grant that we just recently received from the Susan Howarth Foundation. And this is focused on a 3-part initiative for revenue generation. The first piece of this is a digital ad campaign for donor acquisition. You saw the information presented by Lindsay. We know that we have to continue to evolve how we fundraise, so not just the donors, the prospects that we are trying to cultivate, but the ways in which we communicate with them. But when it comes to testing and experimentation, we're very cautious about that because we try to be good stewards of our donor revenue. So we're very selective about how we invest that. We're very pleased that this particular grant is going to provide $15,000 to go towards digital ad purchases. That's something very new for us to be able to invest that amount of money. And we also have the in-kind contributions, in-kind services from Stone Ward to work with us on developing that campaign. So that part is the kind of the R&D portion of this. The second piece, our community engagement events. We have found over the last few years with community engagement events that as we, and particularly in collaboration with marketing, really promote those more heavily to engage more of our audience in in-person events, we are seeing, I can't prove causation, but I can show correlation, that our member numbers, our donor numbers have increased as a result of that. We now have more contributing households than at any point in the last 30 years. So, and I do take that as a reflection of those in-person engagements where people get to see and really feel the impact of Arkansas PBS boots on the ground. And then the third piece of that is a focus on planned giving. Now, I don't know how much you read up on these things, but as a fundraiser, I look at this kind of data all the time. In the course of the next 20 years, we're going to see the largest transfer of generational wealth in the United States, with between $30 and $45 trillion being passed from generation to generation as the baby boomer generation ages and passes on. And we know that it's incumbent upon us as fundraisers to communicate with that generation and that portion of our audience to encourage them to think of Arkansas PBS as a charitable endeavor worthy of being left a gift in their wills. And to that end, we are going to use a portion of this grant to go around the state to do lunch and learns, to talk about just in general estate planning opportunities and the importance of that for all of us, and then obviously connecting Arkansas PBS as a potential recipient among many worthy causes as people make those estate plans. And I wanted to use this grant as an example just to show you from the fundraising perspective kind of the very multi-layered approach that we take when considering how we invest our human resources and our financial resources in order to try to build the long-term sustainability and health of the Arkansas PBS mission. So with that,
I want to add to that the number one portion of that grant. So $15,000 may or may not sound like a lot. I come from an advertising background, so in general, that's not a big amount of money. For us, it is. It's going to be an absolute game changer, and the fact that we got the donated in-kind services of a professional ad agency to not only do the development of the campaign itself, but also to place the media for us, that is really a priceless amount of money because they are taking us on completely free. But to give you a perspective of what this may look like for the next year, because the funds will be used in fiscal 25. In fiscal 24, our support of the foundation from a paid advertising standpoint, utilizing just our marketing team in-house, maybe $2,000, $2,500 total is what we've spent on advertising. So this is a significant jump for the foundation. It will be an absolute game changer for them. They have never had this much in-kind money going towards an effort to bring eyeballs in to support this organization. So while $15,000 in the grand scheme of a lot of other businesses is not a lot of money, it is a significant amount for us. Again, more than 7xing what we've been able to spend on our own.
And as we look at those demographics that Lindsay shared earlier about younger viewers coming to us through digital means, signing on to downloading the app, watching us on YouTube, engaging in other ways. We know that, again, we need to continue to evolve how we are communicating with our audiences beyond the traditional 4 times a year getting up in front of our audience live on air and saying, please call now and make a contribution. We still do that. It's still a critical piece of our overall fundraising efforts, but we know that as those things shift, we need to continue to diversify that portfolio of approaches in our fundraising. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have. All right, thank you.
No more questions? Courtney, is there any other business we need to address?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
again, not familiar with protocol. Is it appropriate for members to make suggestions to the staff, or must it be done in a motion, or what's the preference of the chair?
No, it's open conversation.
Just make a suggestion.
Okay. I, based on the discussions, very thorough and very informative reports, I do have some suggestions. Number one, I would like to seek that report on student academic outcomes in regard to our production of professional development, and to seek that through the Office for Education Policy at the University of Arkansas. Number two, I would like to see the professional development made available to homeschool parents. And this may be something we need to talk to the department about, because I know they're making their resources available, but how do we then do that, extend that to the whole of Arkansas education? Three, and tell me if you want me to slow down. The Department of Commerce is going to do an economic impact study on film and television production in Arkansas. I believe Arkansas PBS should be included in that, because not only for the original programming like Mystery League, what that did, just not from a production standpoint, but also from a what you would call earned media or product placement of Arkansas for national audiences. And then I would point to Antiques Roadshow. The economic impact was not just hotels in Northwest Arkansas. You just placed Arkansas in a highly rated national program that will be at least 3 episodes and other ancillary episodes. That has a quantifiable marketing impact. We have agencies all over this state that are buying 30-second ads and marketing us all over. That is impactful, and that helps us make the case for so many things going forward. So I would ask that we work with Secretary McDonald, Film Commissioner Christopher Crane, and get Arkansas PBS included in any economic impact studies that they might do. And the other question is more, it may be based on my ignorance of programming, but it seems that the reading programming that we have both here and nationally is focused on reinforcement of reading. I would ask that we seek the best K-2 reading instruction program available. And if there's not one available, that we consider creating it. And maybe speak with folks at the Barksdale Institute in Mississippi, National PBS. We need to get into the business of actually teaching K through 2 reading on the science of reading and phonics, and not just reinforcing those that are already reading, which I think is important, all reading. But I would just ask that we find what that is. I think there are some offline, I want to say reading bubbles or something like that. I don't know if that's the one, but things that are available just online. But I would ask us to look at what is the broadcast gold standard for teaching reading K through 2. And those would be my 4 suggestions.
Good suggestions. Thank you.
Very good.
Anybody else?
For broadcast. For broadcast.
Yes.
No. Next is showcase. Sergeant, are you running that?
Okay, I do want to answer a couple of, and yes, if their license has lapsed, they can use Arkansas IDEA to get back in.
They have to go to AETN and.
They have to go to the
ADE and get a
No,
login or?
they can log in and we have help desk that will get them back in and back into to
Great,
getting theirs.
awesome.
I'll send that to you, but I will also look into how we promote that and make sure that teachers that have lapsed understand they can use it.
One other question that came up for me when I was still in higher ed was I was interested in seeing some of the materials that were being taught at the high school level, just so I could better transition college freshmen. I wasn't able to get in.
Okay.
And even after we became part of ADE, they were saying, yeah, you should be able to, but I was having trouble getting in.
Sure.
So, you know, if you want to just, I think college teachers ought to familiarize themselves with what the goals were. And I know that the standards sometimes are taught in different degrees, but I just think it would be really interesting for us to get in and see the training and the offerings for high school teachers.
Wonderful.
If you're a
I'll do
college
that.
faculty.
I'll get back
And
to
if
you.
they're able to get in and get login information.
Great. Thank you so much. And then Gary, I just also wanted to, and Maria, great questions. And, you know, I didn't have all the answers, but most of our courses on ideas are not the academic math, reading, and science. They are typically laws that have been put into place by legislators of required training for teachers that are support for teachers, but not academic courses to help them teach math or reading or science, which are the academic assessments for students.
Understand.
Okay.
And to clarify, because you have, how many years now, 19?
19, yes.
But so you have data points all in the past.
Yes.
What has been done for other vendors is being able to plug in that teacher, the course, teacher names, state ID numbers, and then they correlate that with actual student gains specific to the courses. So the science of reading course, we can see, did it move the needle? Those that are directly related to academic growth. So this is beyond me. I'm not a researcher. I don't know. I just know it is possible to quantify those things. And unfortunately, for too long in Arkansas, we have, professional development has been checking a box. We did it. We did. And I'm not casting aspersions on this group. This is what's always been done. Teachers have more professional development requirements than almost any profession. And some districts are requiring, you said 36 hours, some districts are requiring as much as 60 hours. We need to do a deep dive on, is that effective use of teachers' time? And if it's not, let's give them the tools that will be effective. I think I'm hopeful that we'll find positive results, and if not, we'll make adjustments for it to be positive. So
Sure.
I don't want it all to seem like a criticism.
No,
It's just-
I don't. It's almost, I would love, because we do have that wonderful program on science of reading, to take credit for when those results come out good. But there are so many programs in ACT by Department of Ed that go into science of reading. We're one of them. But there are so many players and initiatives that are supporting that important
And
piece.
you're absolutely right. And the sad reality is, after 7 years of science of reading, which is what we should be doing, we're not going in the right direction on reading readiness. So what is holding us back? And maybe ADE, we need additional partners to be able to make this a gold standard professional development. And it's not going to be one or the other. You mentioned about the one vendor, or you're being 7%. Half of the professional development money is going directly to school districts to make their own choices on professional development. That needs to be evaluated as well. But we can only control what we control, and I think it would put us at the vanguard of embracing accountability. If we're not doing what we need to be doing, here's how we're going to get there and go from there. That's my feeling. I want to be competitive and move us forward.
Great, thanks. I wanted to just mention that, and if you ever want to see like the collection of the courses, we can print that off, and I'd be happy to talk about any of the kind of the details of these courses and what the topics are and so on. So yes, absolutely.
In that regard, could we get logins?
Let me check, just as Ann, I don't want to say something because it is connected to an AILS number that Department of Ed determines. So not, yes.
Okay.
So I can find out.
Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. So now the fun, this is always the fun part, or is it just because I think it's the fun part, is the video showcase. So these are the programs that we have been doing in the past 3 months since the last commission meeting. And so we're just going to show you some of the things that we do. We're going to start off with Totality, the Great Arkansas Eclipse. It's been 100 years since this state has had a total eclipse. It was a big deal economically for the people of this state, in every way, for education, so, you know, all the elements that it has. It was a big initiative for Department of Ed, and our offering was twofold. We did a documentary with the individuals at NASA who came here, and we also went to them to teach people, you know, what is an eclipse? Why is this important? Why is this something kids should understand? And then the second part was we truly were, our state was one of the ones, there's only 13 states that had the total eclipse. We were one of them. And so we thought, how nice to spotlight these communities that will get a total eclipse. So we did a live stream. It was ambitious. It worked. I don't know how. But we were in 4 different locations across the state with the communities, which was very special to see it. And we filmed it. And we were able to see from DeQueen to Jonesboro to Russellville, which was kind of the hub of where NASA was. So we're just going to see a clip of that.
There's going to be a total solar eclipse. The moon is going to completely block the sun for about 4 minutes, 10 seconds.
Anytime you get an opportunity to see a total solar eclipse, I think they're just fascinating things to watch.
People don't understand how important this is. This is the longest totality that has ever come across United States soil. And it's coming through our backyard.
It was probably the most spectacular thing I've ever seen in my life.
Definitely couldn't take my eyes off it. To see the alignment of it was really cool. I didn't want to miss a second of it.
Good afternoon and welcome to Totality Live. Thank you so much for joining us as we get set for a once-in-a-lifetime event in this 1-hour special. We've got locations set up in Jonesboro at Nettleton High School. We're also set up atop Petit Jean Mountain at the Winthrop Rockefeller Center. That's one of 26 state parks in the path of totality today. And also we are live in the southwestern portion of the state in DeQueen at Samaritan Fields, where totality is expected to start in about 45 minutes.
So the anticipation is rising. Wow. Amazing. She's covered.
Holy moly. So we can look now without our glasses.
You can take them off, and that is incredible.
Oh, my goodness. Jonesboro going through it right now.
What? This is so cool. A total eclipse. It is dark.
So that was Totality. It did really well. That was in partnership with Department of Education, and they did so many things in support of this special event, and that was the part that we brought to them. Their next one is Autism Amplified, Acceptance Through Communications. So we were very honored to get this grant. Marge got us some funding to talk about the issues surrounding autism. And we really thought it was very important that we did it right. We did a lot of research. We wanted it to be something that people could use to build their communities, to support one another. And so we're really proud of this program. I think it was actually even picked up nationally as a worth the watch program. And so the way that we produced it was really every segment has autistic individuals in it. They were part of the conversation. We had experts in education and in medicine on this program, and we just really wanted to spotlight how communication is really the key for all of us to understand one another. And so we'll show a little clip of that. I hope the volume is a little bit better on this.
Am I playing? It is.
We've had some type of program like this in various aspects since I've been here since 2014, 10 years now.
So our students with autism can learn how to have successful opportunities in those general education settings in the community, and that their neurotypical peers are learning how to engage with them and support them and just be good friends, developing empathy and learning to work together, which they're going to have to do at all points of life.
We've gone from 7 consistency students coming in at C2G and talking to our students at lunch to I think we have 20 that are fighting for spots right now to come in. So we've seen it grow throughout the year, and I think that comes from them seeing their peers interact with them and knowing that there's no difference.
So it's my turn, so I'm gonna go. Okay, I got a yellow. Why am I getting all these yellows today? Okay, I'm just building up stuff.
Say, she probably didn't shuffle.
Ain't not shuffle.
Okay, hey, what color is that?
It allows our gen ed students to see a different light and to feel like they're making an impact, but at the same time, our autistic kids to feel like, hey, I do have a place in this school, even if I'm not in, general ed classes. It just creates a sense of community. It creates a sense of belonging, which is truly what we're here for.
Just see everybody as equal. I mean, in my eyes, nobody's different, and I wish the world would see that nobody's different. It takes some of us longer to learn things. It takes some of us different ways to learn things. And I think that's my biggest thing, is just to be a role model that we're all equal.
All kids deserve for people to look at them and think, what's next? What's possible? And what do we need to do to help them get there? And when we have our minds set on that, these kids are going to have opportunities, and it's going to change the world.
So that was Autism Amplified. So our next spotlight is the Governor's Quiz Bowl. So I think you all are familiar with it. I got some of the questions that they were asked, and I was going to test you guys, but then I just said maybe I shouldn't do that. They're hard questions.
They are hard questions.
They're very hard, but of course this is an annual event. It's amazing. These kids are brilliant, and they, they competed against each other, and it was just an amazing day. So let's take a look.
It's the most exciting academic competition of the year, live on Arkansas PBS.
I'm Florlane Eka. I'm a sophomore at Heritage High School, and you're watching PBS.
Hi, my name is Jake Gables. I'm a senior, and I was going to make a pizza joke, but it was too cheesy.
Look, Mom, I'm on TV.
I'm Marlon Ho. I'm a sophomore, and I came back for the free food.
Hi, I'm Jay Prasad. I'm a sophomore, and this is bigger than the NBA Finals.
And now, I'm a true PBS kid.
Given the name of a U.S. president, provide the name of the vice president who served under him. Abraham Lincoln.
Andrew Johnson.
Yes. James Garfield.
Chester Arthur.
Yes. Ronald Reagan.
George H.W. Bush.
Yes. William Henry Harrison.
John Tyler.
Yes. Grover Cleveland.
Stevenson.
Yes. Gerald Ford.
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller.
Yes. Herbert Hoover.
Curtis.
Yes. Thomas Jefferson.
Clinton.
Clinton.
Yes. James Polk.
Polk. Is Dallas.
Dallas.
Yes. George H.W. Bush.
Quail.
Quail.
Yes.
7 games and 7 state champions. This is truly a special competition, and we here at Arkansas PBS are always so honored to be able to bring it into your homes every year. So until next year, stay curious and keep learning, and we will keep the questions coming.
I've been reading a book on anti-gravity, but I can't put it down.
Woody, I'm a junior at Norfolk High School. This is my 2nd time at PBS, and I still haven't met a crack brother.
I'm a senior, and I crushed everybody here at laser tag yesterday.
I'm Ezra Moeller. I'm a sophomore, and I did not crush everyone here at laser tag yesterday.
I'm Reese Smith. I'm a junior, and just once, I'd like for someone to call me ma'am without adding, "You're making a scene."
So that happened in April. So our next spotlight is high school sports championship. So since the last commission meeting, we've done basketball, baseball, and softball. And I agree with Gary. This is some of the most beautiful production items. It looks like ESPN. They do a fantastic job. And what I love the most about this is as local as you get. I doubt anyone in Missouri or otherwise is watching this. This is for Arkansas. So we'll take a look.
From the opening tip to the final buzzer, you don't want to miss any of the action from the Centennial Bank State Basketball Finals right here on Arkansas PBS.
It is a packed house, and the final one of the day is going to be a good one. They feed to Burgess, and blocker, emphasis. Oh my goodness! I don't think there's going to be a seat in the house left in this arena. A state championship for the Bergman girls.
Hey everybody, Steve Sullivan here along with Christina Munoz. It's halftime at Bank OZK Arena in Hot Springs, but don't go anywhere because we've got a lot in store for you.
Some people think, hey, that's an easy job. All you do is talk. Well, I challenge you to turn on, a recorder and for 4 hours try to be compelling. Get out there, boys. Let's get it done.
He was a character. This once Razorback, always Razorback.
Okay, let's get over to Christina Munoz. She wants to introduce you to some very talented kids. Christina?
Thanks so much, Steve. Earlier in the season, we reached out to schools all over the state looking for athletes who not only excel on the court, but in the classroom too. Here's the Arkansas PBS Student All-Stars class of 2024. We start off with the 1A girls. That is Savannah Pyle with the Emerson High School Pirates. Savannah plans to attend college as a general studies major and explore her options.
For these fans who are lined up early, a whole lot of red for Maumelle out there before the game, a whole lot of blue for Valley View. Thanks for joining us on this humid Sunday afternoon. Kyle Deckelbaum, JB Brazil, the guru Kevin Bohannon will join us in just a couple of minutes. A lot of storylines to this one, but let's start there. All the talent on one field. Talking about 5 future Razorbacks, 7 future SEC players.
Called strike 3 on the outside corner.
The 2-2. Strike 3 called, and the Pirates have won their 2nd state title in school history, their first in 34 years. And the Wiffle Ball boys are the last ones standing in Class 3A.
What a runner on the move. She is out at second in Bentonville. Once again. the state champions.
There's sports. Do what?
Our viewership is really up.
Absolutely. It continues to be amazing for sports. So the next one, very dear to my heart. It was the first time ever we've done a 18-episode children's series. It's focused on kindergarten through second grade on academic standards such as civics, economics, geography. It was written by Arkansas PBS. It was produced by Arkansas PBS. It brought in $3.1 million into the state for video professionals, educators, caterers, you name it. So it was a huge impact on our state, and it's a beautiful program. And it is about 3 elementary school kids who love reading mystery books. And so because of that, somehow they start solving mysteries in their small town. And so people come every episode, they come with a new mystery that they want these kids to solve. And so what we wanted to do is spotlight small towns in Arkansas and Arkansas itself, the beauty of it, the people in it, and really share what it's like to live in this state. And, you know, and I think this story shows that. So we're going to show a clip. This will be, I'll be speaking at the AD Summit to share the resources on this. We sent over 214,000 bookmarks and resources. We gave books. We wrote a book with Mystery League. We delivered that to every co-op to send to the schools. So it's been a very comprehensive. This is, of course, was funded by Department of Ed. And so here is Mystery League. It ended in March, but we thought we'd at least show a little bit more.
To my #1 fan, H.I. McDoyle.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Just ask next time.
Your first new book in 20 years.
Do you realize, without you and the detectives, this book may have never happened. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
This stuff really is cool. I like this one more.
All right, get back to, stop crying, get back to work. We got work, we're professionals.
Thank you.
No.
Seriously, thank you.
You too.
And so the detective kept the key and was thankful for it, but not as thankful as he was for the children, for they had danced their way into his heart, solving the greatest mystery of all, the mystery of friendship.
Can't believe Mr. McGillicuddy wrote a whole book about us.
I can't believe I read an entire book. I haven't read this much in a year. You guys, it's terrible. What's the matter, Terrell? Lunchroom Larry's poodle Petunia has gone missing. Let's go.
So there's Mystery. That was a montage, I think, in the last episode, but it kind of gives you an idea of the characters and the scenes and those things. And I think it's 80 or 100 academic standards we covered in this. You wouldn't feel it because the story's so good and it's such an easy watch, but we did cover many curriculum standards. The next one is Over the Top. So this is a journey by two individuals, one from Arkansas, who were attempting the Northwest Passage. And it's an amazing story. We've gone from 6 hours, well, it was more than that, of raw footage. 6, we're down to 3. We're getting it down to the last 90 minutes, but we thought we would show you a clip of it. So let's take a look.
Well, today is March 31st. Today is March 31st, and it's officially the birthday of the Northwest Passage trip. She just officially took birth. We've decided, between Adam and myself, that we're doing it. So we already started putting the word out to select few, start to build a Northwest Passage team, and yeah, this is what it looks like. Start a big expedition, just a little idea, and then you just start working at the details. Next thing you know, you're in the middle of the Arctic.
The Northwest Passage is a nautical route over the top of Canada. It's still a vast wilderness, and the broad strokes may be charted, but we could easily land on a beach that has never been touched by human feet before. I mean, who wouldn't want to go check that out? Maybe most people would rather go up there in a cruise ship, but there's an allure, I think, for everybody to see something that is, you know, nature's unspoiled beauty.
It's definitely a holy, magical place that something about it. It's the vastness and the power up there, and just raw, like there's nothing. It's one of those few places in the world that you're truly wild.
Going to the most dangerous ocean on the planet and setting off in like homemade boats and attempting to do something that other people had trained 20 years for. It was very much a test of like, how far can we take this just do it attitude? And when does it become crazy, you know?
For the local production showcase, I'm going to pass it to Veronica.
I'm Veronica Palmer, and I am on Lindsay's team. I'm the Director of Programming and Digital Engagement, and I'm here to talk about some national shows. I just want to showcase a couple. We have a lot coming in the summer, but just wanted to talk about a couple of them. The first one is The Great American Recipe, and it's back for its 3rd season. And the great thing this year is that it's filming pretty close to us in Nashville, Tennessee. And there are home cooks from all over the country showcasing their culture through their food. And we're gonna take a look at that now.
This season of The Great American Recipe is, I think, the best one yet.
That smells good.
If you haven't had my lamb chop, we're not friends yet.
Season 3 is exciting because it's all fresh faces and everyone's just getting better and better.
This is a really delicious plate of food. And of course, 2 brand new judges, Francis and Tim, who are bringing all of their knowledge and their warmth to our beautiful little family.
One of the things that brings me so much joy about this show is the fact that I'm able to mentor.
I grew up eating Southern food. We want something that's gonna be beautiful. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. We're not there to cast judgment from on high and tell you, oh, your food was great and yours was bad. We really approach it as, how do we make something wonderful together? Do you have a taste of the corn?
Sure.
Para mí, Un poquito más sal.
Sí, necesita más sal. Gracias. Home cooks are now understanding flavor profiles. Their food is delicious, but it also tells a story.
We have home cooks from the Northeast, from the Southwest. We have a home cook from Alaska.
Hello, chef.
What are you making?
Alaska sausage. It's made with some reindeer meat. Have a little tasty.
I tried reindeer for the first time.
I think this was the first time for all of us.
That is delicious.
America is a country that's built on so many different nationalities.
So what I made for you today is oxtail in palm nut stew.
It just like warms your heart. And this is my first time trying palm nut.
Awesome.
Thank you for introducing me.
Food really builds bridges between people and cultures.
This wok looks well loved.
Over 50 years. My mom gave it to me. You can take all my jewelry away, but do not take my wok.
We are a competition show, but we really are celebrating each other along the way. Your food is all part of that American story.
The home cooks are on a journey together. You really fall in love with them.
And masterpiece dramas and mysteries are always a fan favorite. As Lindsay showed you, it's the top programming that our viewers love. And this summer, we have the 9th season of one of our favorites called Grantchester. And there are big changes afoot as we get a new vicar. So we are going to have a little sneak peek at that one as well.
Let's make the most of this summer. Make it the best one ever.
We left Series 8 on a high.
Life couldn't be better, I think, especially after the last few series.
So everything's good at the start in Series 9. Everything's rosy and we start with a beautiful circus.
Life seems good, finally. But there's this sense that Will isn't achieving what he wants to, and the bishop offers him an offer he may not be able to refuse.
Grantchester will endure, but there are less fortunate places.
Will and Bonnie both feel like there's more that they could do.
What about Geordie?
We survived Burma. We'd get through us leaving. Question is, do you want to?
It really tears him up about what his future is.
You don't settle, do you?
Stability isn't always happiness.
I'd been offered a job.
Around Geordie, everybody's moving on, but Geordie is standing still, and he can't bear the thought of his best friend leaving.
You are not making this easy.
Reverend Will Davenport has gone, so we need a new vicar.
My name is Rishi Nair, and I play Alfie Cotteram.
Pleasure to meet you, Mrs.
Chapman. Is he handsome?
It's me. Is he? The episode that he comes into is so strong, so beautifully written.
The new vicar? I need your help with the case.
Alfie is such a welcomed addition. You're the new one, are you?
The new...
Geordie's got a thing for vicars.
It's really fun to watch Geordie have to get a new vicar on side.
I have in the past come to your predecessors to ask for help. Alfie is reluctant to help Geordie at first.
Godspeed, Inspector.
And it is really interesting to see how that develops.
Slowly but surely, Geordie weaves him into the crime-solving web of Grantchester.
Dad was murdered, and I can prove it.
In Season 9 of Grantchester, you can expect mystery, laughter, love, so many things happen.
And that's just a sneak preview of a couple of the shows on the horizon this summer. And I will pop it back over to Courtney for our upcoming events.
For events and key dates through June, July, August, and the first few days of September, there's a lot. So I'm not going to read them all. They're in your packet. And there's more information about all of it on the website, I'm sure. We have, in June, 4 Read to Succeed events, one in Brinkley, one in Fayetteville, one in Salem Springs, and one in Conway. We have Mystery League rebroadcasting through the summer, 9:30 on Wednesdays for kids on break. And we have the new episode, the spring and summer episode of Celebrating Arkansas premieres on the 6th. We have a big Juneteenth event at Mosaic Templars Cultural Center. It's a music event and a screening event. We have part 2 of Totality on the 27th. Totality, the Great Arkansas Eclipse, June 27th. We also have, beginning today, something we're calling From the Archives, where we're making use of our archival programming for nostalgia. People love it. So we're doing Arkansas Outdoors as an archival show, 5 o'clock, I believe, on starting today. Thursdays at 5?
Yeah, and he's writing the music for that. So
Right. On July 5th, we have a PBS Kids Xavier Riddle event in Russellville. We have 2 more Read to Succeeds that month in Clarendon and Russellville. We have a Ready to Learn World of Work event in Jonesboro. And we have a Arkansas Live, which is our 3 multi-camera really community education events where it really is better than being there. We do a lot of Crystal Bridges events. We even had one of these nominated for an Emmy because the quality is so good. But we have a live Van Cliburn concert at Crystal Bridges on the 26th. On August 22nd, the Arkansas Live is covering Women's Hall of Fame in Little Rock. And then in early September, on the 4th, we have our quarterly all-staff meeting, and then another Van Cliburn concert at Crystal Bridges on the 5th. So it's a busy summer if you want to attend an event or watch something on Arkansas PBS. So thank you. Any questions about events or?
Okay, I'll open up for comments from the commissioners.
I don't have anything right now.
Anybody else?
I'm excited about some of the events. There's a Read to Succeed noted here in Fayetteville tomorrow that I'm excited to attend. So that's exciting. And then there's even one, the press kit is still being finalized, but there'll be another one in July in Clarksville, in Johnson County, because I'm getting to be a part of that as well. So you spoke to the teaching to read. Well, a huge part of that is outreach to families and to young children, and that Read to Succeed definitely does that. So I love working in partnership and attending those events. So good work.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for yours.
Anybody else? Gary, I was going to say, I love the state fair idea. I mean, I was sitting here thinking about that. Now, when the staff hears me talk about this, I'm sure they're holding their breath. But I was thinking about the sponsors. I mean, Tyson's, Big Implement Dealers, Oakley Feeds. I mean, Marge could really make some friends at this thing. But that's a good idea. I'm just worried about bandwidth. I know that we've worked them pretty hard.
Well, and if not this year,
where do you think I'd find a list of all the competitions? Just go to the
Arkansas State Fair
website.
Yeah, and the which is another state agency.
Yeah.
So
great.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And of course, the rest have heard me talk about this before, but a little clip on Over the Top. That's a Fayetteville kid.
Yeah.
And we first saw him on Alone. I don't know if y'all have ever watched the show Alone on History Channel. It's an incredible show. Zillions of viewers. And he almost won the thing. It's a kind of a survival show, but it's got some extra twists and turns psychologically. And they live alone, is what it is. Anyway, and then I was friends with him on Facebook. I started saying that they're going this Northwest Passage deal. This kid is really an adventurer. He sailed across the Pacific Ocean by himself. He rode horses across Mongolia. He lived in the outback. He does this stuff like crazy. And how he supports himself is he shears alpacas. He goes over to Europe and shears alpacas, as well as in America.
Does he get permission or just?
I guess
he just does it for the thrill.
Yeah, but you've got to like apprentice and get licensed, I guess, to do this stuff. I mean, I had no idea, but he's a fascinating kid, and his buddy Maddie there is one of these YouTube adventurers, and so they decided they were going to be the first people to go through the Northwest Passage under human power. People have been trying for about 10 years because the ice has receded. And up till now, and I'm still confused whether somebody made it this year or not. I mean, I heard that somebody came in, but they went a different route or something. Is that right? Or
I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay. And so So here these two guys were, I mean, these teams were coming from all over the world trying to be the first one in history. And you got these two, not kids, they're in their late 30s, but they built their own boats. They're carpenters. They built their own boats, those seagoing kayaks. They had, and they started off, and some of the footage is just incredible. They used drones and whales and bears and all this stuff. And the other teams flew their boats in. Some of them had big boats, like teams of 14. Some of them had, but they had just kayaks themselves. And the Arctic Sea, well, you saw some of them. I mean, the waves get up to 7 or 8 feet, and so you have to have a sump pump. And that was one of the things that happened. But they drove. They left Fayetteville, Arkansas, drove to the Arctic Circle with those boats on top of their car, you know.
That's an adventure.
They had 1,000 miles, just about 1,000 miles of dirt road in the last to get there. The other teams were flying in on planes, very well financed and stuff. And we gave them a few shekels, I think, but it's just crazy. And they almost did it. Adam injured his shoulder. He couldn't go any further. I can't remember what happened. It came out of socket or tore some ligaments or something. And then, so Matty kept on by himself. But what happened was, and I can't remember how far Matty went, but I mean, I was starting to think, this kid, he's going to make it, you know, by himself. And but it's sump pump that you have to keep the kayak afloat, because water's just pouring into it all the time. It's run on solar energy. It went out, and so he couldn't do anything else. You know, he had to get off the ocean to keep from drowning. And but it's an incredible story.
So it becomes a film about winning isn't everything.
Yeah. Right.
So a lifetime friendship between these two guys, you know, and the adventure of trying. If you don't try, what do you accomplish? You know, so that's
I
what
may
the story.
have missed it. Did they do the production?
They did their own filming as they were traveling.
And then partnered with you?
Yes.
To put it together.
Put it together.
Has it had its festival run yet?
We're still editing.
Yeah. Right now.
Oh, it's not.
Editing. We're at about 3
so you're just giving your spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I knew what you were thinking is.
I mean, I think it's going to win some awards.
Wait a minute,
but,
they
you
had
know.
to stop. Like, what the heck is the film? You know what I mean?
Well, it's so the production values are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does ultimately it'll land here.
Right.
But does it have a life before that where you run it through the festival circuit?
Well, possibly. I mean, we
That's
have
a
to
great
get
point.
it cut together and then
I would
see
strongly encourage it.
see what
It's-
festivals. You know, I mean,
We
know a
have
lot about
earmarked
festival
funding for
strategy,
the
so
Yeah.
And
I agree.
could it not, there's nothing that precludes joint distribution, is there? So if it couldn't just reside here, if
Exactly.
it could be a potential
It could.
funding source, because if some
right.
other streamer wanted to,
I like what he's saying.
No, but it's true.
And that's his
Southern-
background, too. We need to brainstorm some.
Southern
Well-
Storytellers, it has a revenue back end.
I looked at it
You
and I
know?
heard I mean, just watching that, I'm hooked.
Right.
Yeah. But thank you for the backstory, because I mean, wow.
Yeah.
That's-
I mean, driving to Arctic Circle, who does that? I mean, really. Well, and if you ever at the Fayetteville Farmers Market, his mom used to sell alpaca beanies at the farmers market.
I don't know what that is.
All right.
It's really beautiful. It's so funny. The story is so good that they got a flat tire, and the story itself of just that flat tire was 15 minutes, and we're like struggling to cut it down, right? 'Cause
Well, we
we
got
can
a lot
only-
of
Well, could it not be a limited series and not
We
just
looked at that. It doesn't, series don't really go to festivals as much, film festivals.
Some of them
They
do,
usually
some
do
do.
films, but we have considered that, and once we get it down more, we're gonna see if it's episodic or a film.
or both? You could,
or
if
both.
there's a
Yeah,
hunger,
we can
they
do
want to know
shorts.
more.
Yes,
That's,
the things that get outtakes, we'll utilize them some way for shorts.
Well, hats
Yeah,
off.
It's beautiful.
Oh, and Wes, you said he does other things as well?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I haven't
maybe
talked to
he's
him,
the
but no
series.
telling
Maybe
what they're
he's the
planning next.
series.
Huh?
Maybe he's the series.
Yeah. And it's when they came to, I just talked to our staff. You know, we were wondering what capability they had, and Maddie does YouTube and stuff, and they said, man, they've got all the cameras, they've got everything. You know, it's so they're real good.
Maybe it has its world premiere at HSEFF in October.
Yeah. Okay, next meeting, September 12th, 2024, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.